Hi loves, you're welcome to another tutorial. Now this tutorial is about the dress on the thumbnail. So I'm folding my fabric into two because we'll be cutting the front part first. Then after folding into two, I'm just going to calculate the yards I'll be using. So I use the bigger part of her body, that is the hip. Her hip is 50 divided by 4, we have 12.5. Then I added 2 inches to it so that I don't get to waste my fabric. That is what I am doing right now. After that, I'm going to fold it into two, then we'll start drafting. It is being folded now into two and already rule a straight line that serves as my starting line. Now we'll start inputting all our measurements. I use 3 inches for the neck width, and I'm going to be using 8.5 inches for the shoulder measurement. That is the shoulder divided by 2. On the shoulder line, I went down by 1 inch so as to get the shoulder slope. After that, I mark 1 inch. That 1 inch is the neck depth. Now this is the back actually, because we'll be using this back to cut the front. I went ahead to connect the shoulder to the neck width. Then on the shoulder slope there, I mark 8.5 inch. That serves as the chest line. After that, from the shoulder points, I mark the waist length and I roll the line. From the waist length, guys, I went down by 8.5. That serves as the hip length, and I also rule a straight line on it. On the chest line, I'm going to be putting the round bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5 inches sewing allowance. I also put the shoulder measurement on the chest line so I can rule the line. Then from there, we are going to form our armhole. After that, I divided what I have left, that's from the shoulder slant to the chest line, and I mark. Then I went in by 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to connect the 3 points together from the slants to the 1/2 inch inward, then to the bust measurement. My chalk, I don't know if you can see my chalk very well, but just follow me. Then on the waist measurement, I put the waist measurement divided by 4 plus the 1.5 inch sewing allowance. On the hip line, I did the same thing, hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5 inches sewing allowance. Then what I have on the hip line, I'm going to minus 2 inches from it to get the full length. Because if you notice on the thumbnail, it's not like a straight dress, it's kind of like a pencil at the down part. So since the hip is 12.5, I minus 2 inches from it, then I now put 1.5 inch sewing allowance. Now I'm going to be connecting all the shapes together. Now I'm going to be cutting it off. On the shoulder points, I added a little bit allowance upward. That will serve as my shoulder joining, for joining the front and back together, shoulder allowance. And I'm cutting, and I'm also cutting the shape. Guys, I'm done drafting the back. So we're going to fold our fabric, another fabric, into two so we can get the front. Now for this front, I'm just using my pins to hold everything down. After that, guys, you're going to get your nipple to nipple measurement. This part actually depends on your body size, your bust size. If you are a smaller bust, you put your nipple to nipple measurement. So for this client, our nipple to nipple measurement is 5 inches, and I'm rolling the 5 inches all the way down. How do you get your nipple to nipple measurement? Just divide your round bust divided by 8 minus 0.5 if you do not measure your client's nipple to nipple measurement. Then I went ahead to place the back on the front, starting from the 5 inches. Then I ruled the waistline because we need the waistline. We need it to reflect on the front. Then I did that on the neck width as well. So the neck width, that is what I did. Now connect from that neck width to the waist measurement, to that point where you see my hand touching. So I connected it that way. Then I'll be cutting it off. After cutting, guys, this is how it is. The front is almost ready. At this junction, guys, give me a like if you're enjoying the tutorial. Then I'm also going to cut the shape. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Guys, now the next thing is to get the down part. So I raise the back and I'll be connecting that way. Now you can decide to give it a curve at the down part, or you connect it straight. Now before you connect straight, this is what I did. Excluding the sewing allowance of 1.5 inch, you're going to minus it. My camera is not showing, but you understand. You're going to minus it. Then whatever you now have left from there to where, after the 5 inches, from where the normal measurement starts from, you're going to divide it by 2. You divide it by 2. Then you connect from that waistline all the way there. So you're going to connect all the way to that point and you stop. Or you can decide to curve it all the way into the seam allowance. That is what I did. Then I went ahead to notch the hip line and I also notched the waist. I like all my joint, all my points, when I'm sewing. I like everything being together. That's why I notch, so that one will not be longer than another. So we're done drafting, we're done cutting, and we're going to be sewing it now, shoulder to shoulder. So I open the back piece and I'm going to take the front and place them on each other, right side to right side, so we can sew our shoulder. So you sew with the allowance you have, you gave yours. If it's 1/2 inch or 0.25, you're going to sew with the allowance. After sewing sew-mate, this is how it is. The next thing now is to sew the side seam. I added 1.5 inches, so I'm going to be sewing the 1.5 inches. Now that I've finished sewing the side seam, this is how it is. It's looking all beautiful. You can see I curve my own down parts to the other end. You can choose to make yours straight. Now the next thing is to cut our sleeve. So I folded this fabric into 4 because I want to cut the 2 sleeves together. Then from there I got the length. The length is 24 inches. Then I added 2 inches for hemming allowance. Now I went down by 5 inches. That 5 inches serves as our cap height. Now on the cap height, I'm going to be putting the round sleeve. Now because it's the puffy sleeve, I'm using all the old fabric there. So depending on how wide you want it to be. Then I marked 6 inches and I divided it by 2, and I'm just connecting it that way. So watch what I do. Most of you know how to draft sleeve, so you can go ahead and draft your sleeve and cut your sleeve. So I did the same thing for the down part. This is just a straight down from the cap height all the way to the length. Then I'm cutting. So because it is a puffy sleeve, you have to give it enough allowance so you can plait it at the upper part and also down part. After doing this, guys, I notch that will serve as the middle of my shoulder. Then I open it into two. This is how I'm going to sew it. I'm going to be folding the down part into two. Yeah, that is where the elastic will pass through. I'll do that for the second one. Then after doing that, I'm going to sew. But before you sew, you're going to put your elastic into it. Yeah, then you can now sew it. So I'm going to be joining it to the dress now. After joining, I took a bias. I'm going to use bias to overlock all the edges. Yeah, so I went ahead to use a bias to overlock all the edges, but not up to where I'll be putting our collar. Guys, I cut some strap and for the belt, so you can choose to cut any length and any width you have. So for the belt, guys, the side seam you sew on the waistline, you're going to lose one side because that is where the belt will pass through. Yeah, so your belt is going to pass through that. Then you're going to sew your belt on the waist. You sew it on the two sides. Yeah. Then, like I said, when you're fixing your bias, you're going to leave some allowance, like starting from the back shoulder, from the back, then you leave like, let's say, 18 inches so that you can fix your collar. Now I have a tutorial where I taught a collar. You will measure what you have there. That will serve as what you use for the collar. Then you're going to notch it, half-inch notching, because yeah, after notching, that is where you start fixing your collar all through. I'm going to drop the link of the collar in the description box or the comment section for you to watch how to cut and sew a shirt collar. Now after fixing the collar, this is how it is. It is looking all neat and beautiful. And that is the sleeve as well, and we are done with this tutorial. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, give me a like, and I will show you how it is on the dress form. Now this is it on the dress form. You can see my dress form is small because the cleanse is on the big side. That is the sleeve, that is the collar, and that is the down part. Yeah, it's so beautiful and she loved it when she received it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye.